Alright, so greetings from Sayre, Oklahoma. Sayre, I'm not sure. I'm pretty much heading out west from this point. Again, I kind of mentioned last time I got to get to Phoenix to get in my mentorship training so I can train my first student. Again, you usually have to wait 9 months to be a mentor, but if you plan to team with the person you train, you can do it early. So I'm just stoked that it worked out as far as getting a pre-plan going out west. And today's the 14th, and it's due on the 16th, but I'll have it to Phoenix by the 15th, and someone else can take it from there. So other than that, happy birthday to my hero Dave Grohl. He's 45 today. I've mentioned it before. I grew up as a drummer, kind of giving up the pursuit of music. But yeah, so. But to kind of pick up where we left off, again, I was kind of stuck in Laredo. Freight was really slow. I ended up resetting my 70, and I was available at 7 a.m. that next morning, Central Time, and then there was nothing all day. So um, I pretty much watched TV the entire day, which was kind of pathetic. One thing to mention is, you know, I get to watch a lot of Netflix and use my computer. I use about 28 gigs a month. I have a family plan with my mom and my sister, and I use about over 90% of that family plan. But my data was almost up, and so I was kind of keeping an eye on it, because at midnight on the 13th is when it reset, and 6 hours before, I finally got a notice 100% was used, $15 overage. So that's kind of why I was just kind of hanging out in the terminal all day. But anyway, so I had to turn in my driver license in order to get the remote for like collateral. And it's 2:30 in the morning, and I finally go to return it, and I kind of asked the guys like, "Hey, you got any freight?" He's like, "We have one load going to Arkansas." And I didn't. First, I was like, I kind of just walked away, like, I'm not going east, I'm going west. But then I was like, wait, I got time. So I asked him when it was due. It was due on the 13th, and I ended up taking it and headed out the next day, and kind of worked out perfectly. So I got that load. Again, Laredo, Texas to Lincoln, Arkansas. I got to roll through Austin, Texas for the first time, which is pretty awesome because my aunt lives there. And turns out she had a deadline for work, so she was super busy. But I also have an old friend from college, Andrew, who I played in a band with after my kind of big band or real band of college. I kind of, just jumped on board with his kind of group, and so I haven't seen him in years. And we ended up getting to meet up for dinner, and got to watch some football. Got to watch Seattle beat New Orleans. I came in kind of right at the half, and then by the end of the night, New England over Indianapolis. So it was cool, based on the fact that I had extra time to stop and watch these games and hang out, get on my way to Arkansas. And then he actually left and went to band practice with his new band out in Austin, and so I was just kind of hanging out alone. And then what do you know, Lori, his ex-girlfriend, who he moved there with initially, came in with her girlfriend, and I ended up hanging out with them, and it turned into a pretty cool night. So totally random. And then the next day, I ended up getting to have breakfast with my Aunt Lori. So I got to see her for a bit, and I got to see both the people I pretty much know in Austin, so it worked out. So life on the road, it can be pretty fun sometimes if you line it up right. So other than that, only sour note would be the Chargers losing to Denver, which I guess everyone saw coming. But they beat them before this season, but it was pretty horrible. It was pretty horrible. Plus, I wasn't in the best mood. I kind of had a headache while I watched the game, so I was just I was kind of going in and out, napping. And so anyway, other than that, I almost killed a possum, which the only other thing I've almost killed before was a mouse running across the road. But this was straight up a possum right in the middle of the road, like coming into my lane, and I honked kind of last minute, and he scurried off the other way. But I'm not too big on killing things, hunting, anything like that, and even the rush of almost killing an animal, I couldn't imagine if you actually killed an animal or even a deer, or even what would go through your mind if you hit a person. So I thought about all that after that happened. But So I'm making my way from Laredo up through Oklahoma. I'm almost to the border of Arkansas, and there's a Sonic Burger, which I used to eat a lot, not a lot, but whenever I'd visit my grandparents in Houston when I was a kid. But anyway, I saw it. There was a place to pull off on the side of the road. I pulled off, and turns out it was closed. But then, like 50 yards ahead, was this like abandoned gas station, and there were some trucks parked. So I just kind of used that time to do my post trip and park for the night right over the border to Arkansas. So I woke up to a pre-plan to California, which is what I'm on now, from Missouri, um, and I'm gonna end up T-calling it in Phoenix. That way I can stay in Phoenix and get my training done. So, but now for the fun part, I guess. Gotten a lot of comments from my Facebook posts of why or how would that happen, or what's wrong with you, what's wrong with your truck. Well, being a rookie trucker, you don't necessarily know everything. And so I finally get across the state line to Arkansas. It's completely just rural farm area, and I don't know what I'm looking for. It's not a company name, it's a Vietnamese name. I can't even pronounce it. So I don't really know what I'm looking for, and I end up going passing the point where it should be on my Qualcomm, going up to the top of this hill. I end up turning around, coming back. There was a nice asphalt turnoff on the opposite side of the road, which I should have stopped at. But what did I do after I passed my Qualcomm destination point again? I saw this little shoulder in front of this house. Totally enough room for the truck, all that stuff. And so I figured I'll just pull off and call my driver leader and figure out where I'm going. Turns out that was a pretty bad mistake. So I pull off to the shoulder, and it's waterlogged. The water table was just too high, and you couldn't necessarily tell. I kind of, right when I finally was pulling into it, I saw some water, and boom, I got stuck. And spinning my wheels, get stuck some more. So I'm pretty much stuck at this point. So luckily enough, the guy whose house it was pretty cool. This guy named Chad, and he kind of came out and kind of laughed at me a bit. And he has a Suburban 4x4, and he offered to grab a rope and see if he could pull me out. Turns out it didn't work. His rope broke, and then so I ended up having to call a wrecker. We finally got me out of that. The guy Chad even gave me some old cabinet doors to try to lay under my drives to see if that would get some traction, but that didn't work. So I finally get out. They pull me out. I drag the doors to this guy's like scrap pile, and one of the wrecker guys has to get in my truck and move the truck out of the way of traffic. And there are actually two wreckers there, kind of stopping traffic, getting all this taken care of. So I'm finally out. I figure out where I'm going. It's actually this chicken farm being built, this 4-house chicken farm, and I had seen that when I first came through, and I didn't know what I was looking for, but that was the only thing that could conceivably be it. It turns out it was. And so I finally get out and I pull up to this place, and there's this guy with a backhoe tractor, and he's like, yeah, come back in 10-15 minutes. And I kind of shoot up the hill. I come back, and he was actually like, he was already in the process of doing this, because there's one little small entrance, but he was pretty much building me an entrance to get into this place, like pulling the dirt over, flattening it out. We finally got it done. I finally got in there, and there was like over a dozen like Mexican workers working on this place. I was carrying a really light load of like insulation paneling for this chicken coop farm, whatever. And so they had me kind of back in. They took out like 8 of them. I pulled up a bit. They took more out for the right side, left, right side. I pulled up more. They just kind of did each side. And by the end of it, I kind of had to hook a turn. And then what do you know, I pull into another gravelly area. It had rained 2 days prior. I got stuck again. And I mean, I should have known. I think I was just kind of testing it in the fact that the guy had a backhoe, and if something happened, I knew he'd get to pull me out. And that's pretty much what happened. So he finally pulled me out. It was all good. Paperwork signed. I'm finally out of there. Turned into a pretty interesting day in Arkansas. And then I shot up to Missouri. I grabbed my load. A little difficult to figure out what side of the building and all this stuff, but also my trailer that I had was flat, the empty I left, so I had to do a macro to get some work out on that. So that is the story.